So this company I was working with has just been acquired. What does that mean for me as a customer? Well, let me explain that there tend to be four ways that these educational tech companies are owned. They are sometimes privately owned, which is a lot of the younger and smaller tech companies, but also companies as big as SHI is a privately owned company. Then there's the publicly owned companies. This tend to be the $1 billion+ companies. Think of like a CDW that went public in 2013. Although it was previously owned by private equity and then privately held before that. Well, most of who's buying these smaller tech companies is either venture capital or more likely private equity. Let me talk about both of those. If venture capital buys the company you're working with, what you'll see is that there'll be a lot of new investments, a lot of new staff, maybe even new products and new offerings happening in a short amount of time because their goal is growth. They want to grow aggressively, their market share, their overall top line revenue, and they want to get as much of the customer base as they can get. So that's what you'll see happen with a venture capital or VC owned companies. VC owned companies tend to be a little impatient though. And so after about 2 to 3 years, they really want to sell that company off. And the risk I think involved there is that a VC owned company that can't do significant growth of top line revenue, after about 3 years, will start to ask the question, should we go ahead and just sell to some subsidiary or just go ahead and file for bankruptcy? And there's a bit of a risk there if they can't meaningfully grow the number. Okay, so let's say it's private equity. This is the most common scenario in these educational tech purchases. Private equity might even own a few other technology companies. And so it might look like tech company A is buying tech company B. A lot of times behind those transactions is actually a private equity organization. Now, if private equity buys your tech company that you are working with, what you'll see is you'll see a few key executives added to the team, and then you'll see a lot of stability added and even some predictability. And they tend to do a ton of operational improvements to try to make the company leaner and meaner, more efficient. Yes, sometimes they do a headcount reduction, but generally speaking, they're trying to grow the company as well. So their plan will not be to reduce, but improve the revenue and improve and increase the headcount of the company. And the overall goal is to grow the company to sell it in about 5 to 7 years. And so that's what you'll see with a lot of private equity companies is they bring in a lot of expertise and make a lot of operational improvements. Okay, now there is one scenario where I would give you a little bit of a heads up that there will be some pain and suffering. If the company that you are working with is purchased, and it doesn't matter who purchases them, and they are going to merge with another organization. Not just an acquisition, but a merge. In those scenarios, there will be a lot of challenges. And I can speak from firsthand experience to say that probably the first 3 to 6 months, you may not see a ton of changes take place as they really kind of outline a plan to merge the organizations together. But what you'll see take place after that is about a year of transitions for the folks within that company, and it's hard for those transitions not to impact you as a customer. I mean, think about how new insurance plans we put together, new compensation plans, new payroll software, maybe a new ERP, CRM systems, new locations, new team leaders. If there's a merge, there's going to be this at least year-long period of transition, and it's really hard for that to not spill over a little bit into the customer experience. After about a year, you can expect things will stabilize for that company, and they will just hopefully be a better version of what they were before. But during that year, I would expect there'll be a lot of challenges. This is Charlie with Advent Tech, and I hope this has been informative.